Welcome to Mind Mining, where we uncover the hidden lessons from entrepreneurs who built successful businesses from nothing. This episode is a part of our From 9 to 5 to CEO series. Today, we dig into the story of Brian Chesky, the co-founder and CEO of Airbnb. Before Brian Chesky became the face of one of the world's most valuable hospitality companies, he was an unemployed designer struggling to pay rent. In 2007, Brian had just moved to San Francisco with his college friend Joe Gebier. Both had degrees in design. Both dreamed of building something meaningful, and both were broke. When their landlord raised the rent, they realized they wouldn't be able to afford their apartment. That problem sparked a simple question: what if they rented out part of their apartment to strangers? A design conference was coming to San Francisco, and hotels were fully booked. Brian and Joe bought a few air mattresses, built a basic website, and offered air beds and breakfast to conference attendees. 3 people stayed. They made enough money to cover rent. It wasn't glamorous, it wasn't scalable. But it proved one thing: strangers were willing to pay to stay in someone else's home. Instead of dismissing the idea, Brian became obsessed with it. At the time, Brian had no business background, no tech pedigree, no Silicon Valley connections. He was a designer with a sketchbook mindset, focused on user experience, not spreadsheets. When they officially launched Airbnb, almost no one believed in it. Investors thought the idea was ridiculous. Who would let strangers sleep in their homes? Who would trust a random website with their safety? But Brian learned something: survival comes before perfection. Instead of chasing growth, Brian focused on understanding users deeply. He personally visited hosts, took photos of their apartments, redesigned listings, and obsessively improved trust. Airbnb didn't grow because of clever marketing, it grew because Brian treated every host and guest experience like a design problem. But Brian's biggest test didn't come during the early days, it came years later. In COVID, the pandemic hit. Travel stopped overnight. Airbnb lost nearly all revenue in weeks. The company was on the brink of collapse. Brian made the hardest decision of his career, laying off 25% of the workforce. But he did it with transparency, empathy, and generosity, providing severance, healthcare, and support. That leadership moment reshaped how founders are judged. Later that year, Airbnb went public. The same idea, once mocked by investors, turned into a company worth tens of billions of dollars. Brian Chesky went from a struggling designer with rent problems to the CEO of a global hospitality giant. His journey proves something powerful. You don't need to start with the perfect idea. You don't need business credentials. You don't even need investor belief. You need obsession with solving a real problem and the courage to keep going when no one else sees the vision. This is Mind Mining, bringing you another episode in our series, From 9 to 5 to CEO. If Brian Chesky could go from struggling to pay rent to building Airbnb, what's stopping you? Subscribe to Mind Mining for more stories of ordinary people becoming extraordinary entrepreneurs.